Dan Gresham. Thanks for joining me here on the At Home Update. And if you're just rolling out this morning, lucky you. For a lot of us, we've been going for a while, and we know it is not exactly feeling November-ish outside this morning. It's kind of warm, to be honest with you. A little bit muggy, a lot of moisture pouring in. But that's okay because it's Friday. And not only is it Friday, it's Friday before a holiday week as well. Thanksgiving just around the corner. May not be the same this year, simply because of the situation we're in with the pandemic and everything we're hearing from different organizations. We're going to talk about that some this morning. We're also going to hit on what the governor has to say these days about potentially shutting down or not shutting down the state, as it were. We're also going to talk about remote learning and what Texas families are saying, and they're not real happy about it. Plus, if you're a fan of tacos, I'm going to introduce you to the Tacopedia, which will show you everything that you need to know about tacos from around the state of Texas. The Tacopedia. That's coming up as we get into a Friday edition of the Update. So let's get things started straight away by going to KFDM.com, see what's happening there. Oh, and let me back up one and just encourage you, if you want to post up this morning. Say good morning to each other, say good morning to me if you want to. Tell me where you're watching from, what's going on in your world. I like to address some of those things. I like to talk about those things. I like to find out, for example, let me show you that a guy who's been really good, Tom Surawek, has been very good about being part of the updates. He seems to be here almost on a regular basis. But Tom says, good morning, Dan. I'm watching from Frankfort, be on my way to Lumberton tomorrow. So he's got a Southeast Texas connection. He's going to be coming into town for Thanksgiving. Good for him. Tammy says, it won't be the same, but I'm still excited about Thanksgiving. Happy Friday. You're right, it probably won't, but not too many things about 2020 have been the same, right? Jeannie, good morning, Mr. Dan from Buna. Good morning, Jeannie. Also, Shirley James checking in this morning. Also, Nopi Parker, good morning from Kansas City. Going to Kansas City. Probably people don't even remember that song. I remember that song, Going to Kansas City. When I think of Kansas City, I think of two things. When I think of Kansas City, I think of some of my favorite non-Texas barbecue and something called burnt ends. I'd never had those. Nope, till I went to Kansas City for the very first time. And somebody took me to a barbecue joint. And they were like, oh, you got to have these. And I was like, wow. And if you don't know what burnt ends are exactly what they sound like. They're the burnt part of the brisket. I think it's the good part of the brisket. I kind of like that, crunchy part of the brisket that's well cooked on the outside. But they kind of cut it up and they call it burnt ends, and it comes in little pieces. Very tasty, to say the least. The other thing I think of is my former co-host on the morning show, Megan Dillard, who is in Kansas City now. She was working at a television station there, but just recently got out of the television business. But yeah, those are the two things that come to mind when I think Kansas City. Let's see who else is up this morning with us. Probably help if I get this out of the way so that we can see who's up with us this morning. Having control problems this morning. Hi, Cynthia. Hope you're doing good this morning. Roxy Jackson, good morning to you here in Beaumont. Hi, LaToya. Also, Teal is up this morning, watching from Nederland. Good morning to you. Hope you're ready for the weekend. Looks like it's going to be a good one. And Marie, it's always good to see your name pop up as well. Thank you for being part of the At Home Update. I'll be honest with you. The numbers that we're having with the At Home Update, not what they were when we first started, but it's kind of expected, that it would happen that way. And that's okay, because they come and go. And as things change, they will too. Laura Smith, I live in the middle of Barbecue Central in Austin. I guess I know what's for lunch now. All right, I'm going to tell you, Laura, and I know you probably have a lot of barbecue places that you like there in Austin. I'll tell you one of my favorites. I like Terry Black's. I love going to Terry Black's for one reason. They do a kind of a buffet style, and when you walk around, it's hard to resist getting one of everything. But their ribs at Terry Black's are about as good as you can get anywhere. And you're right, there's some great barbecue, a lot of good barbecue. There, I think it's called the Sawmill that's right there in downtown, something like that. But or the Forge. I'm trying to remember. It's in a really old building, but good barbecue there as well. Johnny Hatchell, good morning, Dan. Again, watching from Phoenix. Just got back from seeing my family in Beaumont and Galveston. Had a great time. Had a great time, me and the wife. Well, I'm glad, Johnny. I'm glad you got to come home. That's what Thanksgiving has always been to me historically, too. I didn't grow up in this area, so I would go home to see my parents up in Longview. And a lot of us maybe not going this year because of COVID concerns and age of parents and that sort of thing. Hi, Norma. Good morning to you. Hope you're having a really good day as well. I bet I planned it in a lot of folks' head. Now they're going to be thinking, oh, I'm going to have barbecue today. That's what I'm thinking. All right, so let's get to the headlines this morning. We'll start things off with KFDM.com. There you go. A couple of things that you can talk about. State representatives thought this was interesting, asking the state to reconsider doing the STAR test this year because how kids have been disconnected a good part of the year. And the reaction also from local teachers. You can go, that's the story I'm talking about right there. Also, you can see Southeast Texas children battling increased levels of anxiety and depression amid the pandemic. I often wonder what it must be like to be a child, have a child's perspective on what's going on, because obviously it would be much different than it is as a parent and or a grandparent. And hearing all these people talk about, pandemics and virus and washing your hands and wearing a mask. I can't imagine being, a kid, being 7 years old and being told, oh, you're going to have to wear a mask everywhere you go. Or hear your parents discuss why they're not going to do it. Also this morning, it looks like a very interesting story to me about employers requiring their employees to get a COVID-19 vaccine. So and again, that's coming. The question is when, and we're going to talk about that some more in just a moment. First, though, over to the Houston Chronicle we go this morning. Governor Abbott says there will be no more lockdowns, even if COVID cases, 19 cases, I guess, skyrocket. I'm kind of one of those people, I always want to say never. But that's what the governor says. Even as corona cases continue to rise, no lockdown. And I think part of that comes from the fact that what they learned from the previous lockdown. And then don't you also have to ask yourself today, would a lockdown even work? Would people even abide by a lockdown? If you can't get people to abide by the idea of putting on a mask, it seems to me you're going to have a pretty good difficult time, getting people to abide by much else. So that's an interesting story if you want to go read it, what he has to say. Also, many families here in the state of Texas say remote learning just isn't working and they want it fixed. Is the problem that we have a lot of different school districts doing remote learning a lot of different ways? Because not everybody's doing it the same way. Some are doing it where it's actually just like classroom instruction. Your kid gets on to Zoom or whatever they happen to be using, and they sit for an hour or 35 minutes, whatever it happens to be. And they watch a teacher give a class, and then they fill out the homework. Others, that's not how they do it. Some of them, and one that I've seen up close and in person, it was like, okay, we're only going to have Zooms every other day, and then you go in and you do the work, and then we'll get together and answer questions. And quite honestly, I can understand why some parents are struggling. This is the Texas Tribune, a story by Aliyah Swaby. You can go in, and it just talks about the fact that people feel like they've lost touch. That learning in front of a computer screen is really nowhere near the same as learning first person or getting that one-on-one instruction. Over the last month, the Tribune interviewed more than 30 educators, students, parents, and experts across the state about their experience with remote learning. Parents and students describe a system in which kids are failing, not necessarily because they don't understand the material, but because the process of teaching them is so broken that it's difficult to succeed. So you see their point. From the teachers' and administrators' point of view, they're just scrambling to try to figure out, how do you do this? Imagine if you're in your business and suddenly somebody says, okay, this doesn't work. We're not going to do it this way anymore. Completely change the way that you run your business. Go. And I know some people have been put in that position, right? Some businesses have certainly been put in that position of trying to figure out how to survive and adapt. But when you put it into as big a picture as you're talking about with some of these school districts, where you're talking about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids and trying to reach them all, and all the individual teachers who are trying to come up with lesson plans, it's enough to blow your brain when you think about that. No wonder it's not working. And a lot of people are going to point fingers. They're going to say, well, it's because the school districts didn't take care of business. They knew this was coming. And the school administrators will say, well, yeah, we knew it was coming. But the reality is, it's still all the logistics that come into play in trying to do this. Interested to hear your take? You got kids in school, kids doing remote learning. BISD saying they're going back to remote learning for everybody after the Thanksgiving holiday, at least for a period of time. I've also heard that they may not be able to go very long, that the state may be putting some pressure on them not to go into remote learning situation. Latoya Johnson has a comment this morning. She says, I have 2 honor roll AP high school students in my home virtually attending BISD. It has been a nightmare. I thought as time went on, kinks would be worked out, but not so. I feel for everyone, teachers, students. It's so ineffective. I think a lot of parents would say the exact same thing. I've tried to put myself up and understand from both sides, all 3 sides really, what's going on. Because to me, it breaks down, it's administrative. Those who tell us what we need to do, those who have to do, and those who are the subject of what we're doing, right? Administration, teachers, and then students. And you try to put yourself into all those things. And then you have to consider, okay, yes, they may not be as learning as well, and it may not just be a good an option, but are we keeping them safe? Are we keeping ourselves safe? Do you have to make exceptions when you're dealing with liabilities and pandemics and all the things that we're working with in this? There's no easy answers. As a parent, you struggle with, okay, do I send my kid to school? And they mix up with all these other people. Am I putting them in a petri dish and saying, okay, will it happen to us? Will you bring it home to our family? Will you bring it home to grandma and grandpa? So that's not easy. Again, there are no easy answers, but at this point, it sure sounds like there needs to be a lot of examination about how we're doing virtual learning. As a student, I've watched, I really have. I mean, the idea that a kid sits in front of a computer screen and does an hour-long class. As an adult, you do an hour-long Zoom meeting, even 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Take a 5-minute break, do it again, and do that 5 times or 4 or 5, 6 times over the course of the day. Yeah. No wonder they're distracted. No wonder they can't keep their attention focused. It's easy to understand. Also this morning, another story I wanted to point out to you is from USA Today. A lot of talk about, vaccinations. And in fact, Pfizer today is expected to apply for that emergency application with the FDA so that they can start getting it out, producing it, and think about distribution. But as that happens, there are a lot of questions. Who gets it first? How much is there going to be? How do you distribute it? So this is a good story to just kind of talk about supply and demand as it's going to be rationed by the federal government. Who will be the first to get this? Will it be the frontline workers? Will it be the military? Will it be the high risk? All of those things have to be talked about. Look, so here's from the National Academy of Medicine. This is what they're saying as far as COVID-19 vaccination rationed out. Phase 1, frontline health workers, ambulance drivers, cleaners, first responders. That's 5% of the population. Phase B, those with underlying conditions that would put them at higher risk, those with 2 or more chronic conditions, and 65 and older living in facilities. That would be phase 1B. That's 10% more. Then you get to the next phase, and every one of these phases then is months out from when you start, right? Months out, because you're talking about millions of doses. And you see, it finally comes down to phase 4, which is everyone else residing in the U.S. So the younger you are, the healthier you are, the less likely you're to get it very soon. Or the less you're exposed, the less likely you are to get it, right? All right. Also this morning, I want to leave you as always, you have to decide these things. We've said this from the beginning. Your risk tolerance is what drives everything you do every single day. It's not just during a pandemic, even non-pandemic when you think about it. What kind of car you drive, who you hang out with. I mean, all of those things are risk assessment. You decide, oh, I'm not scared of that, or it's okay, or yeah, I'm going to try that. Oh, I'm going to go swim in the pool. I'm going to go skiing. I don't know. But all of those, you have to make a risk assessment for yourself. And that's what you're doing every day. So you have to come up with a decision whether you're willing to take the risk, to go somewhere for Thanksgiving or somebody come to, and how great is the risk? Is a tight circle, a small bubble, just my immediate family. I know where everyone's been. That's certainly a whole lot different than going into a gathering with 25 people that you haven't seen and have no idea where they've been. But again, you're the one that has to make that decision. Is it worth it to you whether to do it or not? And the risk that might be associated with it. But CDC saying they're not suggesting it. Also this morning, let's one more story for you. I want to leave you on a lighter note this morning. You like tacos? We've already talked about food. I'm on a food thing this morning. I've got it stuck in the brain. We've talked about tacos to barbecue, but now I want to talk about tacos because I saw this in the Texas Monthly, and it's my favorite magazine as far as state magazines go. I can't imagine one being much better than this. I've been a fan of Texas Monthly. I've been a reader of Texas Monthly for more years than I can imagine. And a lot of people have come and gone. A lot of people, some of my favorite writers have now moved on and write in other forms in other places. But still, I enjoy reading. And I guess it's because it's about my state. You know what I'm saying? And they go out and find interesting stories. But this one by Jose Ralat is pretty good. It's called The Ultimate Texas Tacopedia. And you may think a taco is a taco. Well, that ain't right. Because there are all kinds and types of tacos all around the state. And Jose has put together this Tacopedia, which is the top 120 tacos in the state of Texas. And, it can do everything. Look at this. You can go from barbacoa to Asian Mexican to breakfast to, how about this one? Cajun Mex. Yeah, a hybrid of the indigenous cuisine of Acadiana and Tex-Mex. Wow, look at that. All the different, and that's the beautiful thing. Finger food to the max, tacos. All right, so go check it out. It really is. It's a good story. You'll learn. You will learn something when you go read that story, I promise. All right, let me ask a favor, if you don't mind. Hit me with a like. Let me know you've been here. That's a good way to do it, the thumbs up. Also, again, the reminder that if you have something that you want us to talk about, something to look into, a story that's of interest to you, if you'll post it up in the comments section. I may not read every comment on the air, but I read every comment that folks are posting here every single morning. Also, let your friends know, hey, there's a cool way to catch up on what's happening in the headlines, and you can do that by not even being here when we do this live, when we live stream at 9 o'clock. That's great because then you can post up your comments. But if you're not, you can watch this any time of the day. You really can. It's easy to do. You just go to the KFDM Facebook page and there it is. You just watch it. Whether, it's 9 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock in the morning. All right, so just a quick reminder, there are several places you can catch up with us, of course, here Facebook, KFDM News. You can also follow me on Twitter, Morning TV Dan. Or if you'd like to subscribe, we do have a channel on YouTube. It's Dan's at Home. You subscribe, we post all of our updates there, and you will get a notification when we're about to do an update. I've enjoyed my week with you. I hope that you've enjoyed it as well, and you've got plans for the weekend. Maybe they're not, the guy who has more plans every single weekend than anybody I know is Dana Malasa. He does more on the weekend than I do during the week. He does more in 2 days, and I'm just the opposite. I'm the guy that's I'm gonna just kind of kick around the house. I'm gonna tinker with a little bit of this. I'm probably gonna come back in here, do a little, painting, little art, that sort of thing, but few projects, but not the kind of schedule he's got. But no matter what, if you're one of those people that's always looking to be going and you got to have something going on, more power to you. Same time, be careful when you do that. Whether you believe or don't believe, the numbers are getting a little bit scary these days when it comes to COVID. So, and once it reaches and touches somebody then it changes your whole perspective. Believe me, it really does. Okay, so go out, make it a good day. And again, take care of somebody, reach out and help somebody if you can. Random act of kindness is always a good thing. And I'll look forward to seeing you back here bright and early on Monday morning, also on KFDM TV on The Morning Show.